in our one-on-one kind of session where you talk through things, I had the opportunity to kind of highlight some things that were coming up specifically, and you were able to explain to me using Justin's chart or mine, like why this is going on and what would be helpful and supportive.
Hi, Tatiana. Thank
Of
you for being here today.
course.
Everyone, this is Tatiana. She is my client she ordered a parenting guide and we've done a mommy and me reading, daddy and me reading. We went through her child's human design energy and she's going to share her insights today about her experience working with me and learning about human design. You can introduce yourself and then also what made you want to explore human design with me.
Yeah. My name is Tatiana. Everyone calls me Tati. Um, I have a 14-year-old son and I'm pregnant right now, due in October with a baby. Obviously, I don't know what else I would be doing with. But I I'm like, what did really bring me? I think I was introduced to the concept of human design. I like maybe during a coaching container with someone somewhere, and I started to learn about it for myself, and I found it really, really intriguing and kind of just going down rabbit holes by myself. But it's so much information. It's a lot of information. And so I think I were we in BBB together?
I don't think we were in BBB together, but Asia was the connection. And
Yeah,
I did go on her live once talking about human design.
yeah, and maybe it was that. I think Soft Girl Sanctuary also. So there was somewhere in there that I was introduced to your work, and I'm like, okay, I like enjoy looking at all the human design stuff on my own, but I am very much a person who likes to work with people who know things more than me and can
Yeah.
guide through all of that stuff. So that's when when you started to share like the parenting guide, I was like, oh, I can apply this beyond myself and with my family, especially having a teenager. And I just got married in January. And so we have a lot of transitions and shifts going on in our home. And it seemed like this would be a good place to start to understand how each of us works, because there's a lot of leaders in the household and
Mhm.
there can be a bit of a power struggle. So human design felt like a good place to start to understand how we all operate and how we can have some more cohesion in the house.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm glad that you wanted to find someone to help you learn it and dive into it because that's why I created the space. Like I loved human design and it made me feel so seen when it found me. And then I was like, but this is so confusing. Like it can get so confusing. It's just shapes, colors, and numbers, but I want people to use this. Like it's so great. So yeah, I created the space. So I'm glad that you found it. Um, and was there anything specific that you wanted to understand about your child, or you just wanted overall general information?
I think I went in with an open mind generally, but definitely the kind of, there was just this kind of miscommunication or disconnect that seemed to be happening between him and I. Oh my gosh, sorry, my cats are fighting. Hey!
That's okay. I have animals, so I get it.
There's a big boy cat and he's always bothering the smaller girl cat. And I'm like, leave her alone. Okay. Um, yeah, we were just having these, he's going into his teen years and we suddenly started just having these rifts with each other or between him and my husband. And I was just like trying to, he's a child. And so I tend to take the perspective of like, he's not just like waking up in the morning, like, how can I be like the biggest asshole to my parents today?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, there's something here of a need or somewhere where I can support him, and I need to figure out where that is and how that needs to look and feel. And so going into the parenting guide, which was the first thing that I bought, that's what my goal was to kind of figure out where can I learn how Justin operates and see how I operate and see where there may be some places where we can kind of reinforce things and find connection and understanding where right now we're finding conflict.
Yeah, that's good. Did you feel like, I guess, what were your takeaways then from our sessions and how did that impact your household?
I gained a lot of insight on how, like, what may be going on under the surface for him that I was not, like, obviously I'm not a mind reader and I didn't know. And for both of us, I know, like, we have the similarity of getting really frustrated when we're interrupted while we're in the middle of doing something where we're locked in the zone. And
Mhm.
I could relate to that, but I didn't understand that that was happening for him. And I really didn't even fully understand, like, I didn't have the context of why that was happening for me and that that's just the way that I work and
Mhm.
what strategies I could use to, like, inform people. Like, I now I know when I do it with my husband and with Justin, my son, to be like, "Hey, I'm creating content for my latest workshop, or I'm working on some kind of task and I need to be uninterrupted for the next 30 minutes." And I can tell them that instead of getting started and getting in a zone and then someone's asking me what's for dinner or someone's asking me, like, to fix something on their phone, and then they're taking me out of the zone and then I'm getting really frustrated, and we could have just avoided this a little bit if I just said something. So I think that's like something small that I don't think was at the top of my mind of little changes we could make that have a really long lasting big impact in us
Mhm.
to respect each other's way of working and while keeping each other in the loop and not icing each other out. Understanding that the effect of us not telling, like, we were all kind of not communicating all the time with each other about needing uninterrupted time, or like saying, like, oh yes, I'll do this thing, but oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. And
Uh,
there's no lag or anything.
oh, I froze. That was weird. Um, yeah, we were just not communicating effectively, and it was causing a lot of conflict. And I think once I read the parenting guide, I was like, okay, I could kind of take a look at Justin, and especially once we did the Mommy and Me reading, I could look at him and be like, okay, now I get why you get so annoyed when this happens, or now I can take it less personally when you take a lot of alone time because that's just how you work. It's not because you hate me
Yeah.
or because I'm super annoying to you. Like, you just prefer to, he has the lone wolf approach to things. And now I understand why he, like, everything just made sense about him. And then it's like, okay, now I know where to support you, where to not take things personally. And I could teach him and have taught him how to use different strategies to communicate with us so that we're also causing him less irritation.
Yeah. So it works for both of you or for everyone in the house. Like the more you know about each person.
Yeah, there's, like, I mean, I don't think there's a way in these teen years to completely get rid of tension,
Yeah.
really. I think there's a lot going on inside of him and a lot going on outside of us, and that's just a part of life. But I will say that it feels like it's a little easier to navigate and have a little bit more harmony. And really, for me, I will say, really not taking it personally, some of his way of going about things.
Yeah. That's really good. Do you mind if I, just to provide a little bit of clarity for people listening, do you mind if I say a couple things about the authority and the energy types?
Go ahead.
Okay, so if I recall correctly, Justin is a manifester, correct? Okay, so her son is a manifester, and then Tatiana and her husband are both manifesting generators.
My husband's
Yeah,
a man.
he's a manifester too. Okay, my
I'm
my apologies. You're the manifesting generator, and so her husband and her son are both manifestors. But all of you guys have emotional authority, correct? Yeah, so there's a lot of intense emotions going on in that household, a lot of 0 to 100, a lot. And when you have emotional authority, you're not meant to identify with your emotions, even though they are really intense. So it's suggested that you take time to yourself before making decisions or communicating or whatnot, so you're not coming across the wrong way. And also with her son being a manifester, she mentioned lone wolf, and manifestors are the only energy type who are like meant to initiate all the time, and who can initiate, and they like to work on things by themselves. So if they're working on a creative project and their flow gets interrupted, that can trigger their emotions and making them feel thrown off and stop that creativity, which manifesting generators also experience, just not probably as intense. So when she mentioned her son going and needing time by himself and her not taking it personally, understanding his authority and his energy type was what helped her probably not take that very personal.
Yeah,
Okay.
spot on. I will say that with the emotional authority, I think also define like you explaining the different centers. And for me, like I think I have a defined throat center and I tend to be able to like move through like once I move through my emotions, I can kind of communicate things very quickly and clearly versus my husband and Justin, I think both don't have defined throat centers and they frequently will kind of have this like needing more time before responding to say how they feel or make a decision about things. And before human design, I found that very frustrating because with both of them, I feel like I'd be like, okay, I feel like this and it's because of this and this is what I want to happen. And then they would just be kind of like, taking a long time to respond and I'm like, why are you just staring at me? Like I just said all this, now you do it. But
Hmm.
I started to once I had human design kind of like give me the perspective of like, oh, this is their way of moving through their thoughts and they want to communicate in a way that is takes a little bit more time and a different approach than me. Um I started to notice that pattern and my son Justin will now kind of like take like and now I can kind of encourage him and be like it's okay, like take your time, you don't have to tell me right now, I don't need a decision right now. Or my husband will kind of be like let me think about it, like I have thoughts on this but give me a second and then I will like
Hmm.
once I like can say how I want how I feel. um and I think that's very helpful because now we can be comfortable. I don't feel so like what is the word? I don't have the sense of urgency
Hmm.
really anymore because I know what's going on. And I think they can feel safe and comfortable to take the time that they need to work through their thoughts and how they want to communicate it, which is what I think is
Yeah.
thing. And so it that again reduces conflict because I'm not pressuring them. They don't feel pressured. Everyone can
Hmm.
do what they need to do, and then we can have a conversation about stuff openly and transparently and in our best kind of form.
Yeah, I love that. And also it made me remember too, you're a manifesting generator. And so manifesting generators naturally just operate quicker than everyone else. And so manifestors like your husband and Justin, they don't have the sacral center defined, that battery pack that gives them the to just like go all the time. So potentially slowing down for them
Yeah.
is also a good thing too. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're able to see that and notice that. And then I think the last couple questions would just be, are there any, so we spoke about the insights. Are there any tools that were helpful?
Um, I'm like, I feel like all of it was helpful. Definitely. The in the mommy and me and daddy and me readings, you give like some tips at the end of the PDF that you send, like communication tips and things to look out for. And I really appreciated the organization of that. It was like you gave this like a bunch of really helpful information and then you kind of put down some key points, and those have been pretty helpful in us working together. Um, I'm like, what else? I don't know. I feel like it's all helpful. Like, especially learning about the energy centers was also a helpful piece
Yeah,
because, like I said, as I've been learning about this, it's so much information, and trying to remember like what the gates and the numbers and the colors, and like half
yeah.
the colored and half of it's not, like all of that is a lot. And
Mhm.
in our one-on-one kind of session where you talk through things, I had the opportunity to kind of highlight some things that were coming up specifically, and you were able to explain to me using Justin's chart or mine, like why this is going on and what would be helpful and supportive. I do remember you giving the tip of like with the chores for him. That was really big. He has chores to do, and we were getting, he was getting really annoyed with us because of us reminding him to do the chores, but he would forget.
Mhm.
And so he hated the reminders, but he would forget. And you explained to me that his head being undefined might be contributing to him being forgetful with things. And you gave us the idea of putting sticky notes in the places where he had to do a chore and making a game of it, and for him to kind of like collect those and then have some sort of incentive at the end. That's gone really well with him.
Yay.
And he's started to like he'll be like, "Oh, can I earn a milkshake if I like do my chores for this week?" And it's like, yeah, if you do, we've like set up different parameters, and he doesn't even need the stickies anymore to kind of remember, like, oh, I'll do my laundry, I'll clean up my room and make my bed, and I'll like do the dishes and do whatever other tasks. And so that went over well. And then we're not really having to remind him about those things, and then he's not getting super irritated. So that
Yay.
a lot. And I think we'll probably apply it to some other things as his responsibilities change. But that was very helpful. I think having the one-on-one time to talk about some of what you put together for us was helpful in understanding him very specifically.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that that really worked for you, your house, and like that alleviated the issue, or a challenge that you guys would face pretty regularly. I think, too, as a manifester, they don't really like being told what to do or being controlled. So being reminded about something, he feels like you're telling him what to do. So the sticky notes were so you guys don't have to tell him with actually telling him, and he can do it himself and feel that sense of control. So that's lovely. Um, I guess any tips or anything that you would say to other parents who might be facing challenges with their children, or who are intrigued by human design, maybe?
I think this is a very, very, very helpful tool that I would recommend for parents to use as soon as they can. If I'd known about this when my son was younger, I definitely would have learned, like, invested in this and learned about it and applied it. I plan to do that once this baby is here. But it just like making time to understand how your child's mind and body and design operates, I think will just create a way, it just cultivates a different energy in the house, because you're like, we can never truly be inside of each other's minds all the time, but this feels like probably as close as you could get to that.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's not a complete predictor of each person, but it's a very helpful guide so that you can, like, kids are triggering. I think that's part of their gift to us is to trigger us and help us like figure things out about ourselves. But in that, if you can have this as a guide, you can not take things personally and start to understand and have a concept of yourself and your child in relation to each other and see them as what they are, which is a whole other person, not an extension of you, like not something for you to control and manipulate, but like a whole other person that you are responsible for stewarding. And part of that is understanding what things will best support them, what things they may have a different way of approaching than you or struggle with more. And that way you can use that to support and guide them in the best way. And I think this is a great place to start, like building a foundation for that for your child.
I love that. I think you said that perfectly, because it all starts with ourselves, right? Like, think about how much we have been conditioned to operate a certain way, and that doesn't work for us. And then to be a kid and to be expected to operate a certain way, and then not really feel understood, but not really be able to communicate it. Yeah, it's a tool that provides great insight to utilize, not to depend on or anything, but definitely a tool to add to your just your weaponry of being a great parent and a aligned human being. So I appreciate your insights and you sharing that.
I like I guess I will add that you just said right now, like kids not being able to maybe fully communicate that sense of like being asked to operate in a way that is counter to their design. And I will say like my Justin is on the spectrum and he didn't start talking until like he didn't start like really putting words together until he was maybe like 4. And even now we have a lot of communication barriers when it comes to like how he communicates with us. Like we can talk to each other, but there's still some breakdown there. And this is helpful to kind of not completely get around that, but make it easier for us to connect without having to depend on just language.
Hmm.
I think that is like if you are applying this for like a younger child, that could be helpful there too. Or just children are still learning. Well, we're all still learning about ourselves and who we are and what we like and what we value and how our feelings operate and making sense of ourselves. Um, and sometimes language alone is not going to cut it. And I
Right.
think having these insights gives you kind of other ways of connecting with your child if language is not maybe the strongest place where you can do that. Like, I have to teach Justin how to move through his own emotions and how to move through his life in a way that is supportive of him and kind of uplifting to himself while also not causing harm to other people. And that's easier for me to do if I have some insight about who he is through
Hmm.
human design. And then we can kind of go from there because he
Yeah.
not be able to like I think using human design was how I was able to have a little more understanding of, oh, like you said, I move really fast. And for him, he's not moving at that speed. It's how I had the wherewithal to say, hey, when where he would say, what would he say? Um, why are you asking me so fast? And at first I thought he meant like, oh, do you mean like why did I ask you so soon in the day? Because sometimes he doesn't use phrases in the way that I understand them. And he was like, but you're just saying it so fast. And I'm like, do you mean the speed that we're talking? And then he's like, yeah. Um, and I'm like, oh, are you overwhelmed by how much information we're giving you? And that question was then he was like, yes, you're saying too much to me and it's too fast. So
Mm.
then I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I didn't know that this, to me, it didn't feel fast. I felt like I was just talking. But for
Mhm.
him, it was like information overload, and then he's getting overwhelmed, and then he's like having a meltdown. And
Mhm.
now he can communicate to us and say, you're giving me too much information. Can you slow down? Or I need a break. I'll come back to get the rest of this information. And that's really big because he
Yeah.
didn't know how to communicate that to me before I asked him the question. And I knew to ask the question because human design explained
Oh,
what was going on in my head and what's going on in his head.
I love that. That's great. So you guys have definitely made progress, and it seems like the challenges, I mean, of course, they're not going to go away completely, but they've been alleviated at least for a good portion. And you found some really great tools and ways to communicate better and have these conversations and stuff with him, and even understand him without, like you said, the verbal language. So that's amazing. I didn't know that. Yay. Um, I think that's a wrap. Like you shared a lot of great information. I want to say thank you. And then to anyone, any parent or anyone who's looking to learn more about their human design, you can go to sabledanielle.com/enrollment or sabledanielle.com/get my chart if you just want to learn your chart. But if you're ready to invest, we've got the parenting guide, mommy and me readings, daddy and me readings, and then longer term coaching. So thank you.